Greetings, hi, the War Owl greets you, and guess what, folks? DE Tuscan has been released before Half-Life 3. This map is currently in beta, but I recommend everyone hop on over to the workshop and give it a gander. This is one of the maps that's been around since 1.6 and has gone through a number of iterations, so it is a highly anticipated release, especially for leagues. I had the pleasure of walking around in this map while it was still in alpha and giving some feedback. First, let me give you some history of the map. Once upon a Counter-Strike past, there was a map called DECPL Mill. For some strange copyright thingy or something like that, it wasn't allowed to be played in the CEVO League. So CEVO contracted a map maker called Brute, who had previously made maps like DE Ruska, to make DECPL Mill. This was how Tuscan was born, a reskin of Mill, with a few minor tweaks to the layout. The sewers were made into an alternate passage into Bombsite B instead of the horrendous sewer system from Mill, and the spiral was taken out for a windy passage with longer rotates for the CTs. And Bombsite B is double layered instead of a box land up in the sky. Something like this would not happen nowadays, since the official maps are pretty much going to be owned by Valve and not the leagues. The sort of bastardization, inbreeding mapping is kind of a thing of the past, even though this stuff is kind of still happening with a few maps. And DE Tuscan, T-O-S-C-A-N instead of T-U-S-C-A-N, which is clearly a copy of Brute's DE Tuscan, considering they mention his name in the description on the workshop. But since Tuscan is a copy of Mill, what's wrong with Tuscan? Well, I mean, they're clearly marketing it to the community as a clear copy of Tuscan. They're using the name of Tuscan pretty much to market this thing. Have a little shame. Maybe even attempt to hide it. Goodness, I mean, that's not going to fly. That's clearly a copy where you have Mill versus Tuscan is kind of a gray area. In my opinion, though, I don't care about any of that. May the better map win. Now, as an interesting point on that, Brute, the map maker, seems interestingly hostile towards folks who copy other people's maps and release without permission, as well as folks who point out that his maps are pretty much copied from other maps as well. Who would dare question the great, all-knowing Brute's maps? Oh. But it's rightly so to be mad about people who just take maps, copy them, and release them as their own. However, there's a fine line between copying the layout of a map, like he did with DE Tuscan and copying Mill, as well as DE Forge copying Cobble, versus porting the map over from one game to the other. Keep in mind, the source version of Mirage is called DECPL Strike. This thing happens a lot. The question becomes, at what point do the maps belong to the community instead of the leagues or the map maker? And there really hasn't been a lot of monetary incentive up until this point. This is where Valve comes in. Map makers can make a load of cash, boatloads of cash, if Valve accepts their maps into the game. This is Valve money, kids. This gives control of the maps to Valve and allows them to handle all this stuff. I don't see Valve doing something so silly as adding DE Tuscan, which is clearly a copy, to the map pool. But this DE Tuscan is a complete remake from the same league and from the same map maker as previously, even though the design of Tuscan, again, is from Mill. So I don't know if Valve wants to touch that at all. I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. There's a lot of lawyers and money and crazy stuff involved there. Sad people, angry people, nastiness. I would avoid anything like that at all and just make a new map. Now, releasing a map while it's in beta, to me, doesn't really seem like a good idea. First impressions are strong, and Tuscan has many flaws as it is right now, most of which can be fixed when it's in closed beta, so that the map isn't immediately dismissed by the community, which would be a terrible shame. We saw this happen with Mill. It made this mistake, and now nobody really plays Mill. Now, I've always been a big proponent of new maps, that is to say maps that are completely new to Counter-Strike, designed for global offensive. This is yet again another remake from previous games. As it is right now, the only map that is played that is actually new is DE Overpass. There are attempts with DE Crown and other maps like that, but I've really yet to see one played very much. We'll see what happens if one of these things gets put into an operation or not. In terms of works in progress, we also have FM Pone's reskin of DE Season coming out, which hopefully will make it of quality enough to get into the game. DE Season, while being another remake, along with DE Tuscan, will add more variety to the competitive map pool, and I think both of these maps are in a position where the competitive community and the leagues will and can accept them if they turn out to be good. There are a number of gripes I have with the map right now that may get worked out as the beta progresses. My biggest pet peeve of invisible walls rears its ugly head again. When it looks like you should be able to go there, you should be able to go there. Otherwise, it just completely takes me out of the map. It can confuse players. It's cognitive dissonance all over the place. It's not good, especially when you're worrying about player positions and that sort of stuff. There are a number of new little tricky spots in the map, which are pretty cool, like this spot to watch players pushing sewers, or this spammable spot at short B. I think there's going to be more variety in this map than there was in previous versions of Tuscan. Another big gripe of mine are walls that you can get stuck on. I brought this up quite a lot during the CSGO beta, and Valve fixed it by adding clip brushes that allow you to slide past obstacles on the wall instead of getting stuck. I don't have to reiterate the tired old argument of if you're flashed and you're running away, you need to be able to slide across the wall, you don't want to get stuck. You don't want traversing the map to be a chore like it is in Call of Duty, but you want it to be smooth and sexy, a fun experience. The aesthetics of the map look okay when you check out the surrounding stuff, the stuff floating around in the sky. That stuff looks good. It gives sort of a feel, a mood to this map, and it's really nice looking. But sometimes the things added just for aesthetics are a real pain in the ass when they're in your way. So hopefully this kind of stuff will get removed. There's a bunch of it. There's trees. There's these scaffolding, which we always hated from Dust. Guess what? They were taken out of Dust. There was a reason for that. They're terrible. I could make a whole nother video talking about all the little nitpicky things, like not being able to make out a player based on certain backgrounds and lighting. There's just tons of little things in this map that go wrong. I mean, I could. Let me know if you want me to make another video to just go through and point out all those things as sort of like a beta, here's the feedback video. But, I mean, this is kind of a public way to do that, though. I should probably just send that to the map maker. And then there are just some glaringly ugly things, like these arches. In CSGO, these arches would have a model over the top of them with more details, not just an ugly brush with an ugly texture. And here I'm kind of contradicting myself in regards to model-based cover, because I like brush-based cover. I like it when there's a wall there. Or basically my gripe with model-based cover is sometimes you can see where you can't shoot. Sometimes you shoot and it hits something that the hitbox shouldn't be there, or you can shoot through something you shouldn't be able to. There's a lot of crazy stuff that goes on with model-based cover, so if the hitboxes are set up properly, I'm all for it. At times, this map looks like it's made for Source or even 1.6. I'm not sure if the aesthetics are really there yet for CSGO. It seems like more detail work needs to be done, more clip brushes need to be added, and some stuff needs to be removed, like random trees and the scaffolding that blocks your way. Overall, this is a work in progress. It is not ready to be played yet. If you're interested in beta testing, hop on in, pop it in a server, have some fun. But if you think the imperfections are going to distract you and make you hate it in the long run, then avoid it. Brute is a professional level designer. He's always been a workhorse, a gun for hire. The question is, if it takes 2 years to come out with this, is it time to pass the torch on to someone else? I'll let you decide if it was worth the wait. I'm the War Owl, and I still have no closer.